Well, we will play a Flicker Wisp. Flicker the land. Go to combat. Get in with Raven Inspector. Hit our opponent. Down to 10. Get back the clone. Clone the Flicker Wisp. Flicker Death Shadow. Pass the turn. Need some new Zendikar Rising cards? You can get them today from our sponsor, Card Kingdom. Just head over to cardkingdom.com. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Against the Odds. So last week, we had a Zendikar Rising in older formats Against Odds poll, and it was Confounding Conundrum for Modern that came out on top. And I gotta say, figuring out how to build a deck around Confounding Conundrum was a confounding conundrum in and of itself. It was a lot more challenging than I thought. But anyway, we ended up with this sweet Blink/Panharmonicon Confoundamonicon deck. Anyway, let's talk about how this deck works and the challenges of Confounding Conundrum. Jump into our game, see it in action. So, of course, our winning card, the namesake card of the deck, Confounding Conundrum. 2-mana enchantment, draws a card when it comes into play, and then if our opponent has multiple lands come into play in a turn, they have to pick up lands, essentially. So, every land past the first one, opponent's going to have to bounce a land when it comes into play. So Confounding Conundrum, it punishes ramp. That's the most obvious thing. Your opponent lands, Uros, puts a land into play. They got to pick up the land, so it gets around the Uro ramp or cultivates. In Modern, it kind of hates on fetch lands naturally, although really, it kind of slightly annoys fetch land players more than just straight up wrecks them. Like, you play Confounding Conundrum, your opponent, if they play and crack a fetch in the same turn, that really punishes them. They got to pick up a land, so they end up getting no lands out of the deal. On the other hand, wily fetch land players will play a fetch land, wait until your turn to crack it, and that gets around it. So the challenge of Confounding Conundrum, which I have found to be way, way more difficult than I realized, is we need to figure out a way to have our opponent have multiple land drops come into play on a turn. That is the challenge of the deck, and that is way harder than it sounds. Magic decks and Magic cards pretty good at letting you put multiple lands into play, but there's not a lot of cards where it's like, hey, your opponent has to put a bunch of lands into play, and doubly so because of the Magic rules where your opponent can fail to find. So if things go really wrong, your opponent just be like, I'm not going to search for a land. So how do we go about trying to force our opponent to have multiple lands come into play? And it is super, super janky. So let's talk about our plans. We got two plans. One plan is we do have Crucible of World with Field of Ruin and Ghost Quarter. And the idea is either Field of Ruin or Ghost Quarter, they destroy one of our opponent's lands and let them put a land into play. So if we wait until our opponent's turn, let's say they make a land drop, then if we Ghost Quarter or Field of Ruin, our opponent has two choices. They either get a land with a Ghost Quarter or Field of Ruin. That'll be their second land. They'll have to pick up a land. Or our opponent just takes and just says, no, I'm not going to find a land, and we get a strip mine out of the deal. With the help of Crucible Worlds to play these lands from our graveyard every turn, we can potentially strip mine lock our opponent out of the game. It gets even better if we have multiple Confounding Conundrums that our opponent almost always just fails to find, and we just always have strip mines, because with two Confounding Conundrums, our opponent would have to bounce two lands, so then you're definitely coming out way, way, way behind. So that's one plan, but that's not the primary plan of our deck. The primary way we're doing this is with a couple of white creatures that can blink any permanent when they come into play. These are the main engine of our deck. So Flicker Wisp Glimmerpoint stage, they come into play and they can exile any permanent. It comes back into play on the end step. So essentially what we can do here is get down a Confounding Conundrum or two. We use a Flicker Wisp or Glimmerpoint stage to flicker our opponent's lands. The challenge is we need to have this happen multiple times, because remember, since Flicker Wisp and Glimmerpoint are creatures and we play them at sorcery speed, our opponent's probably not playing lands during our turn. So having one land come into play doesn't do anything. We need multiple lands to come into play. So the next piece of the puzzle is Panharmonicon. With a Panharmonicon out, a Flicker Wisp or a Glimmerpoint stage can flicker two of our opponent's lands, which means we go to the end step, those lands are going to come back into play. That's going to trigger all of our Confounding Conundrums. If we can do this enough, or have enough copies of Confounding Conundrum, or enough copies of Panharmonicon for that matter, we can get to the point where a single Flicker Wisp will come into play, exile several of our opponent's lands, thanks to Panharmonicon. They'll all come back into play, and our opponent will essentially have to pick up all of their lands. It's like the weirdest, jankiest, Panharmonicon-iest one-sided Armageddon. So that's what the deck is trying to do. We also have Ghostly Flicker, which works incredibly well with our Flicker Wisp and Glimmer Point stage. So the idea is, we can play our Flicker Wisp and Glimmer Point stage, get down our Confounding Conundrums, our Panharmonicons, and then we Ghostly Flicker to exile our Flicker Wisp and Glimmer Point stage. They're going to come back into play. They're going to hopefully double trigger by Panharmonicon, exile a whole bunch of our opponent's lands, get that Armageddon play we were talking about. So that's the main way we can make our opponent have multiple lands, maybe Armageddon with Confounding Conundrum. The other cool trick of the deck is, since we're playing Glimmer Point Stag, since we're playing Flicker Wisp, since we're playing Ghostly Flicker, all things that can exile lands, we're playing Umara Wizard and Glasspool Mimic. Is lands that we can flicker around into creatures. Like Umara Wizard, we just play it as a tap blue source, but then eventually we can Flicker Wisp. If we're not set up to Armageddon our opponent's lands with Confounding Conundrum, we just flicker the Umara Wizard. It's going to come back into play not as a land, but as a 4/3. So that's a kind of sweet synergy. Glasspool Mimic does some really sweet things. If we get down a Glasspool Mimic, we can like Flicker Wisp, flicker the Glasspool Mimic. It comes back into play as a clone that clones Flicker Wisp, so we had to flicker something else, so we could flicker Umara Wizard, another Glasspool Mimic, our opponent's stuff, maybe their lands for Confounding Conundrum. So that's kind of the way we finish the game. Hopefully bounce all of our opponent's lands with Confounding Conundrum, and then use these flip land MDFC synergies with our Flicker stuff to build a big board, kill our opponent that way. Otherwise, Threadbit Inspector, Wall of Omens, early game defense, works with Panharmonicon to draw cards. Path to Exile is just our removal spell, also synergistic with Confounding Conundrum, because even though our opponent has to put a land into play, which is supposed to be a drawback, if our opponent chooses to put a land into play, and we get the timing right where they've had another land, we can force our opponent to bounce that land, or just choose not to get a land with Path to Exile, which makes it even better. Otherwise, in the mana base, we talked about Field of Ruin Ghost Quarter, part of our main plan, Seacrobe Coast, some fetch lands, shock lands, basic lands, pretty straightforward. In the sideboard, for aggro, we get Settle the Wreckage, Winds of Abandon, Wrath that give our opponent that Path to Exile ability, the mass Path to Exile ability, but our opponent probably won't be able to take advantage of them because of our Confounding Conundrums would make our opponent bounce all their lands, so it's kind of all upside in our deck. Dova's Veto, Mystical Dispute for control decks. Wheel of Sun and Moon, good against graveyard decks. We can't shut down our graveyard because we want a Crucible of Worlds, so Wheel of Sun and Moon can shut down our opponent's graveyard. Also, kind of tech against Mill. We can enchant ourselves and just beat Mill decks. Meddling Mage for combo, Disenchant to deal with artifacts and enchantments, and that is the ridiculousness of Confoundamonicon, Confounding Conundrum, Blink combo for Modern. That's our Against Odds deck for this week. Let's jump into it, see if it works. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it, and I will talk to you soon. All right, Against Odds time. We are confounding opponents in Modern. Confoundamonicon? There are Panharmonicons, but it's definitely Confounding Conundrum. Dot shenanigans. Dot deck. We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. Hoping for fetch lands from our opponents. Many fetch lands. Ooh, all right. Well, those are two Confounding Conundrums. We will keep them. We have a Crucible, which could be sweet if we find Ghost Quarter effects. We are on the draw, so if our opponent's aggro, we could just... Okay, so it's Death Shadow? So we could just get run over here. Polluted Delta. No discard spell, at least. Well, Island, go. Opponent. Cracks Polluted Delta. Snags a Blood Crypt untapped down to 15. Opponent. Polluted Delta. Cracks it. Potentially all the way down to Death Shadow life totals. Stave Vets. Untapped. And Death Shadow. Alright. Yeah, that's a threat. Oh, Seacrobe Ghost. Confounding Conundrum? Alright, no fetch lands for you. Pass the turn. How do we beat a Death Shadow, though? Can we beat a Death Shadow? Untapped, Watery Grave, down to 10. Grows the Death Shadow. Opponent gets in, hits us. Not a fetch land either. Down to 17. We need a path. We need a path, and we need it quick. Okay. Exiles land, draws a card. Passes. Well, we will. Confounding Conundrum. Resolves. We draw a wizard. Well, play the land past the turn. Opponent untaps. Oh, all right. Are you going to crack it? Are we going to crack the fetch? All right, no fetch land cracking yet. Opponent gets it, it says. Down to 14 with the Death Shadow. Opponent passes. Oh, Flooded Strand. Crack Flooded Strand. Grab a Plains. And Glimmer Point Stag? Yeah, I mean, I guess we take the Wizard. Blink the Wizard, pass the turn. Get a 4-3. For free. Opponent cracks. Yeah, playing around the conundrums. Watery Grave untapped. Opponent's got to have, yeah, a handful of removal. Oh, yes, this is tough. We just didn't draw any paths to deal with this Death Shadow. Opponent. Thought seizes us. I mean, we could just be dead this attack. We're not going to block. I don't think there's any way we win if we block. I'm not sure there's any way we win if we don't block, but we could draw a path and have our opponent not have Stubborn Denial. That's the way we win. Maybe. Possibly. We'd have a chance of winning at least. Opponent gets in, hits us. Yeah, I mean, if we're dead, we're dead. Yeah. We drop to 5. Untap. More conundrums. Well, play the Wizard. Yeah, I mean, Ghostly Flicker? We gotta know if we can attack or not. Alright, there's Stubborn Denial. Oh, yeah, now we gotta pass. And try to chump. If we had hit a removal spell, we might have had a chance. Build it. Untaps. And. Alright, has Dismember. Sure. Yeah. Well, okay. That was a little bit tough. That's what Death Shadow does. We just didn't hit a way to kill Death Shadow. So I guess we bring in 2 Winds of Abandon. Go down 1 Wizard, 1 Glimmer Point Stag. I don't like that. All right, a little bit more removal. I mean, we made a Wizard. That was sweet. We drew Conundrums. We just... they're surprisingly easy for some decks to play around. We saw that there, where... yeah, we inconvenienced our opponent where they couldn't crack their fetch main phase, but they just played their fetch and then passed. So that's why we need our flickery support cards to really make it work. And Panharmonicon, of course. Well, all right. See what our opponent's up to. All right, we get to play first. All right, we'll try it. We got a Conundrum, and we have blockers. We still don't have removal, but we do have a Ghost Quarter that could be a strip mine at some point. Seagrove Ghost, go. Opponent. Bloodstained Mire. Bobble. I guess we should have read out the Thraben Inspector. Opponent cracks, draws a card. In a minute. Cracks Bloodstained Mire. Blood Crypt. Untapped. And we got some discards. Cycle Street Wraith. And passes. Well, alright. So opponent gets to draw a card. We will Ghost Quarter and Confound you. Draw a card. Pass the turn. Well, this does make fetch lands worse. So opponent has non-fetch, Watery Grave. Down to 13. And passes. Well, let's... do we play another Conundrum yet? Let's play Glasspool Mimic as a land. Play another Confounding Conundrum. Get the Stubborn Denial out of our opponent's hand. Pass the turn. Alright, opponent exiles it to draw a card. Opponent. 2 Conundrums would have been sweet, but... getting the Stubborn Denial out of our opponent's hand is also sweet to some extent. Alright, Grimag Angler exiles everything. Opponent passing. Well, let's see what we draw. Crucible. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so I think what we do is float a mana, Ghost Quarter ourselves, get a Plains, Crucible of Worlds, get back Seachrome Coast, Thraben Inspector, get a Clue. Pass the turn. So that's a little bit awkward, but we have the Crucible down. And Crucible Ghost Quarter can do things against our opponent's deck. Opponent combat hits us. We'll take it for now. Down to 15. Death Shadow. Okay. Not great. Opponent passes. Well, we will Winds of Abandon, Grimag Angler. Do they have another Stubborn Denial? Oh, wow, that's a blowout. Okay. That's actually super bad. Oh, boy. Okay, I guess we could have played around that. I was not expecting so many Cling to Dust. Yeah, now we got to pass. Oh, yeah, that is a full-on blowout. I guess we should have played the Ghost Quarter first. Now the Death Shadow remains alive, and we didn't get to cast the second Winds, and our opponent did get Confounding Conundrum. Okay, that's not great. That's not great for us. We were counting on that Ghost Quarter mana. Huh. All right, they're playing a lot of Cling to Dust. Inquisition takes our Winds of Abandon, goes to combat, gets in, hits us, Yeah, down to 13. Well, we will play a Flicker Wisp. Flicker the land. Go to combat. Get in with Raven Inspector. Hit our opponent. Down to 10. Get back the clone. Clone the Flicker Wisp. Flicker Death Shadow. Pass the turn. Opponent. Untaps. I mean, we're not that far away from getting the aggro win. Opponent. Thought Scours. Mills. Ooh. Angler Death Shadow. Okay. And another Grimag Angler. Alright, opponent. What do you got? What do you got? And a Thought Seize. Takes Flicker Wisp. Oh, alright. Let's see if they got Double Strike. If not, we might be able to get there with Flicker Wisps. Opponent gets back Death Shadow. It's big. We untap. We play Wall of Omens. Draw a card. Play the Plains. Go to combat. Hit ya. Down to 2. This grows to Death Shadow. So if our opponent has Double Strike, we're dead. We can't beat a Team or Battle Rage, but I don't think we have another option here. Hit our opponent. Hit our opponent. Down to 2, and see what happens. No Double Strike, please. And we can chump block and then just win with the Flicker Wisp. That's the hope. Opponent untaps. Do you have it? Opponent's thinking. That's been a slow game from the Death Shadow side, I would say. We're at 20 minutes. They're at 12. An opponent, all right, does not have the answer. Okay. We confounded them. Can we do it again? Run it back. So Confounding Conundrum didn't do much, but the support plan of flipping up Glasspool Mimics and Umara Wizards worked. Confounding Conundrum, I'm coming to realize, in a lot of matchups, it's more of like a late game card. We're hoping to like get it down, then get down a Panharmonicon, maybe get down another one, and then we can kind of build our own Armageddon, more or less, in the late game. But it takes specific matchups for it to be good in the early game. Ooh, boy. This hand has a lot of what we like, but we can't cast any of it. I think we got a mulligan. Well, okay. We will keep. This hand's a little risky, but we're going to keep it. We will put a Flooded Strand to the bottom. Don't Thoughtseize us. Opponent, Street Wraith. Blood Crypt. Untapped. Bobble. Cracks Bobble. And passes. Alright, draws a card. Well, play Mimic. Go. Opponent. Street Race. Geez, they're already going to beat a Death Shadow, aren't they? Yeah. Cracks it. Untapped. Down to 11. Well, hopefully it's just one Death Shadow. If it's just one Death Shadow, there's some amount of hope. Opponent, Death Shadow. And passes. Well, play the Plains. Play a Wall of Omens. Draw a card. Gonna need to find a path or wins. Alright, we draw Plains, pass the turn. Alright, no more life loss over there, opponent. No more life loss. Bobble for a redraw. Cracks it. And gets in. I mean, we're going to attack. What's the odds of them having Street Wraith number 3? Alright, so we block. Opponent. Ooh, Grimag Angler. Collective Brutality. Alright, nothing to take from our hand, though. So we lose our wall. But that's about it. Yep, so wall down. Come on, path. We need a path. We need a path. Opponent gets to draw another card. Panharmonicon. Well, we will Confounding Conundrum. Dig for a path. Another Conundrum. I'll play Umara Wizard. Go. Well, we'll see. We'll see what our opponent finds. Untaps, draws 4 cards in hand. Bouncing their lands might be a positive at the moment, as weird as that is. Opponent gets it, hits us. Down to 18. And Grimag Angler. Well, alright, so we play a Flooded Strand. We crack Flooded Strand. We grab a, Hollowed Fountain untapped. We run out Glimmerpoint Stag. We blink the Clone. Please don't dismember us. Pass the turn. Get back the Clone. Oh no, they have it? Okay, Thought Scour. That's fine. So opponent mills a couple cards. We get back the Clone on the Glimmerpoint Stag. That will blink the... What do we want to do here? So we could flip this up to get another threat. Yeah, I think that's fine. Flip it up. Pass the turn. Opponent, combat. Gets in with the Angler. Well, I think we take it. I think we take it. We got to kill our opponent. Not if we double block, then our opponent kills one and we lose everything, and that's pretty bad. So I think we got to take it this turn. This does leave us in a place where Temur Battle Rage next turn is going to be a big concern. Opponent, clean to dust to draw a card. All right, well, we get back our dork. We untap. We play Confounding Conundrum, number 2. Resolves. Play the plains. Oh, I feel like we have to all-out attack. There are still ways where this goes bad, but I feel like if they had Dismember, they would have dismembered earlier. Attack with everything. Opponent blocks. Drops to 5. Thraben Inspector. Please no Battle Rage. Death Shadow is weird. Opponent Thought Scours. It is such a weird card. So it blocked as a 2/2, took the damage from the Glimmerpoint Stags, and grew big enough that it survived, but it also didn't kill our creature. So strange. Well, do you have Temur Battle Rage? Opponent. Opponent, combat. Attacks with Death Shadow. We block with Thraben Inspector. Opponent. Another Grimag Angler. Another Angler. Okay. Oh, we really need a spell. And we need it to resolve somehow. Watery Grave. Tapped. Untap. Well, that's a spell. So we will... Stubborn Denial does still get us. Alright, play Field of Ruin. Winds of Abandon. Death Shadow. Do you have Stubborn Denial? Alright, opponent thinks for a while, does have Stubborn Denial. Well, alright. Hit you to 1. And see what happens. Okay. No removal, please. No Temur Battle Rage. Oh, this is so close. Our opponent's played so slow. What do you got? Opponent goes to combat. Attacks with everything. Well, we will chump and pray to the magic gods. Alright. Opponent's at 1. We go to 5. Not dead yet. Well, crack the clue, draw a card. Another conundrum. I mean, this is all we got. Go to combat. Attack ya. Do you have it? Wow. They do. Alright. And that does officially do it. Snapcaster for Stubborn Denial. We didn't have an instant or sorcery to cast, or enough mana to cast a second wizard. Wow, we were so close. I mean, I guess maybe we should have ran out Conundrum to try to draw a path, but... Well, alright. Wow, that was close. Oh, we almost got there. One day, Confounding Conundrum. What was our next card, out of curiosity? Ghostly Flicker. Yeah, that wouldn't have done it either. Wow, that was ridiculously close. Well, alright. Alright. Against the odds time. We are looking to confound opponents in Modern Confounding Conundrum shenanigans and see what our opponent's up to. This hand is slow. I think we're gonna mulligan. Well, okay. This is awkward, but we'll keep. We'll put a Glimmer Point to the bottom. So all of our lands are Umara Wizards, which is very awkward. Opponent also Wizards. Well, we will play the land, pass the turn. Gonna need another white source to flip up these wizards. Opponent, island, and passes. Well, Hallowed Fountain, untapped. Run out a Wall of Omens. Alright, opponent. Opponent's full on jig. We draw a card, so opponent's gonna get to flip up their wizard. Yeah? I mean, I guess that's kind of a combo. Island for our opponent. Question's gonna be, do we get to path it? Opponent. Spreading Seas our white source. Alright, so that actually makes things quite a bit harder since we can't path it. That might just beat us. Well, can we draw a white source? Well, Ghost Quarter. Float a mana. Wow, this is so painful. Get a white source. Path the wizard. Oh my goodness, Force of Negation! Ah! No! Okay. Well, now I guess we're back to losing to this wizard. Sure. Opponent. Ah, well, that's unfortunate that that's how that ended up. Merfolk Trickster. Taps our Wall of Omens, gets in, hits us. Yeah, I mean, I think this might be working. This also does not look like a deck that cares about Confounding Conundrum. Well, we will... Oh, we can't really do anything, can we? Play Thraben Inspector. Fairy's Time Twist. Interesting. Well, play the wizard. Pass the turn. Oh, that Force of Negation. I feel like we had this exactly where we wanted it if our opponent could force a negation. But now they force negation. I'm not sure there's any way we get out of this. Opponent plays another Merfolk Trickster. Taps our wall. Goes attacking. Well, we got a chump. Oh, it has flying. Well, I guess, all right. Sure. And I guess they just got us. That was an interesting way for that game to go. Yeah, all right. Sure. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Well, that was cool, I guess. Cool to see other jank doing cool things-ish, relatively. Ugh. Oh, I wish Confounding Conundrum did things, though. That would be nice. Well, Mystical Disputes in. Dovin's Vetoes. I don't even know if we want Vetoes in. Maybe Winds of Abandon? Go down a Crucible of Worlds. Go down Field of Ruin, which appears to be a dead-ish card. I mean, I guess it can get the wizard if they try to flip it, but yeah, maybe we keep them. I feel like, if we weren't against the odds Confounding Conundrum, I would probably cut Confounding Conundrum, honestly, in this matchup. I feel like we need a lot of things to go right for Confounding Conundrum to actually go off against a deck that's mono blue, no fetch lands. It even shuts down our Field of Ruin plan for the most part, but alright. Well, we get to play first, and I don't think we can keep triple Ghostly Flicker nothing. Oh no. Oh no. This hand's even worse. Oh, Magic Gods! Why Magic Gods? Alright. Flicker Wisp and Panharmonicon to the bottom. Oh, this is real bad. Real bad. Tap land go. Opponent starting with a full hand, which is bad. Mutavault and Ether Vial. Oh, so this feels like a deck that wants to be... Well, alright. Confounding Conundrum. Might as well play it because it is our namesake card after all. Opponent in the tank. I think the theme of this against the odds is we have played against a string of the slowest players in the history of the series. Which is going to make this video way longer than I would like it to be. Just because we've played against a lot of opponents who are really slow. Well, we will play another wizard past the turn. Opponent untaps. Yeah. Takes up their vials. Plays an island. Opponent passes. Well, we'll play a Glasspool Mimic. Still no white mana. Pass the turn. Opponent vials in a 2-drop. Silvergill Adept. Huh. You don't see Silvergill outside of Merfolk decks very often. I guess that is a Merfolk wizard. Runs out of Brazen Borrower. That is neither a Merfolk or a wizard. Okay, well, I guess we're probably just losing to the janky beats here. Opponent takes up their vials. Yeah. Opponent! Alright, thanks for a while. Ghost Combat. Attacks, perhaps. Alright, they do decide to attack. Hits us down to 15. Opponent passes. Alright, we finally draw white mana. Crack it. Get a Plains. Maybe. We'll get a Plains. We will play Thraben Inspector. Get a clue past the turn. Opponent has 5 cards in hand, though, and 2 Ether Vials that can put basically anything into play. Okay. Alright. Okay. Let's get a non-Merfolk. Yes, okay. Living the Lord of Atlantis dream. We have a few kind of Merfolks, a few not Merfolks, a little bit of this. I mean, so I think the idea of our opponent's deck's really cool. It's actually kind of similar to some of the shenanigans we're pulling off. On the other hand, I feel like the upside of Merfolk is it's very consistent. And I feel like I'm not sure that giving up the consistency by playing a bunch of non-Merfolks and a bunch of blink effects is actually an ideal outcome. I mean, it's got us here. We're going to scoop it up. But in general, I would rather build around this energy, I think, than make a known deck less consistent. But it worked for our opponent that time. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Gets the job done. Yeah, all right. All right. Against the odds time, we are trying to confound opponents in Modern. Confounding Conundrum, Panharmonicon, Confoundamonicon, something along those lines. Jank.deck in Modern. Opponent. What you got? Swamp. And Inquisition of Kozilek. We are going to need to hit more lands. Well, play Umara Wizard. Go. Opponent takes the path. Interesting. Flooded Strand. Oh, maybe our opponent's like blue-black control or something. Another Inquisition. Takes Flicker Wisp. And passes. Well, Hallowed Fountain untapped. Thraben Inspector. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks. Watery Grave untapped. Thieves Guild Enforcer. Oh, is this mill? It could be an awkward mill hand. That's possible. All right, we lose a Thraben Inspector that we don't care about. A planes that we do. Island for our opponent. And passes. Well, all right. We will crack the clue. I guess it could also be rogues. Wall of Omens. Untap. Well, Thraben Inspector. Get a clue. Sack the clue. Looking for lands. All right, not a land past the turn. I mean, I guess Crucible could be a land long term if we can resolve it. Opponent untaps. Prismatic Vesta cracks it. Grabs an island. And passes. Well, that's more blue mana, but it is mana. Well, play the island to go to combat. Attack. Actually, do we attack? That might be too greedy. Let's play Wall of Omens. Draw a card. Hopefully. Alright, Wall resolves. Opponent kills a Thraben Inspector. Sure. Alright, that's more white mana. Alright, next turn we could probably start doing things, hopefully. Opponent. Archmage's Charm. I am very unsure what our opponent's deck is. Surgically extracts Flicker Wisp. Alright, so probably Weird Mill would be my guess. So Flicker Wisp's down. Opponent untaps, draws a card. Serum Visions. 2 to the bottom, plays a land. Still no Confounding Conundrum. Cracks the Delta. Island. Opponent. Passes. Alright, well, we untap. Play Confounding Conundrum. Resolves. Hallowed Fountain. Untapped. Crucible of Worlds. We're just trying to bait counters, essentially. Because we're really close to doing what our deck's trying to do. Wow, opponent lets it go. Alright, maybe they don't have a counter. Opponent said they swear there's more rogues in their deck, so apparently they are a rogue deck. About it. Archmage's Charm draws cards. Okay. Una's Blackguard. Mills us. Watery Grave. Tapped. Opponent. Pass it. Alright, well, we untap. We get to play a plains from our graveyard. We get to play Panharmonicon. Alright, that draws out the counter, so we will path the Blackguard. Opponent gets a land. Yeah, I guess we get in. Eventually, this Thieves Guild Enforcer is going to be big enough that we can't block it. Opponent. Passing. Serum Visioning. Serum Visioning. Alright, left 2 on top, so our opponent presumably found their rogues. 2 on top again. Watery Grave. Tapped. Opponent passes. We untap. Flooded Strand. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Opponent takes it. Run out Glimmerpoint Stag. Blink the clone land. Pass the turn. Get it back. Copy Glimmerpoint Stag. Blink the wizard land. Flip them up, flip them up. Alright, opponent. Can you beat the Glimmer Points? Una's Blackguard again. Mills us. Opponent. Gets in. Well, I guess we block. Especially since we can replay this from the graveyard. Kill it. About it. Alright. So, we get back our wizard. Opponent bounces Glimmerpoint Stag. Alright, crack this. That's fine. Crack this. Grab a plains. Ghostly Flicker. Blink Wall of Omens. Draw a card. Draw a couple cards. Oh, if only we had Panharmonicon. An opponent scoops it up. Okay. Well, We didn't really go off with Confounding Conundrum, but our shenanigans were good. All right, opponent's playing Rogues. Rogues with many counters. Well, I guess we bring in a bit more removal and a couple of mystical disputes. We'll go down one Panharmonicon. We'll go down. Actually, is Wheel of Sun and Moon worth it? Probably not. If they were straight up milling us, then yes. But I don't think it's worth it with our opponent doing what they're doing. All right, do a bit of trimming. Bring in a bit more removal. Bring in a couple counters. Run it like that. See if we can confound them this time. The blank shenanigans are sweet. Getting the Confounding Conundrum Armageddon is harder than it looks. Well, all right. We got removal. We don't have much else, but we do have a removal spell, which is good. Opponent. Flooded Strand. And passes. Yeah, more flickers. The flickers aren't doing much at the moment. Flooded Strand go. Opponent cracks. Watery Grave. Untapped. And Thieves Guild Enforcer. Mills. Well, all right. 2 lands that would have been okay. They actually would have been pretty good. All right, opponent's going aggro. Cracks. Island. Combat. Gets in. Hits us for 1. Down to 19. Ooh, Bitter Blossom. Ay, 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 ay. That's real bad news. All right, cracking a land. I'll play a land. Ugh, I'm not excited about this, but get rid of the Thieves Guild Enforcer. See if there's any way we can beat a Bitter Blossom. Opponent gets a token, drops to 15. And has another Thieves Guild Enforcer. All right, not looking good. Mills our stuff. Turns on Thieves Guild. Oh, yeah, this is looking real bad. Well, this hand is a much more aggressive for our opponent's deck. Well, Flooded Strand go. Yeah, Bitter Blossom seems good. Found it. Bitter Blossom makes a dork. Mills us. Goes to combat. Gets it, hits us. Ugh. How do we possibly get out of this? Opponent passes, well, we'll crack. Take a flooded, Hallowed Fountain off the Flooded Strand. Untap. Confounding Conundrum. Well, sure. We will play Confounding Conundrum. I think it's a bit too late to matter here, though. Panharmonicon, also a bit slow. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Bitter Blossom mills us. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. And we'll just, there's no way we can actually beat this from here. So we will scoop it up out of game 3. Huh. Well, after having just all control stuff in game 1, opponent had a much more aggressive hand here in game 2. I guess we better bring in the vetoes as well? We could also bring in Disenchant. The only downside is, what are we cutting for all this? Maybe go down a Mystical Dispute. Go down to 1 Crucible. Go down 1 more Umara Wizard and bring in 2 vetoes and a Disenchant. Try it like that. I mean, we gotta have a way to beat Bitter Blossom. Bitter Blossom, as we saw in that game, if that just comes down early, that's probably just gonna beat us. All right, we get to play first. Let's get a good Confounding Conundrum head. All right, we have a Confounding Conundrum we will keep. We don't have any ways of interacting with Bitter Blossom, but, well, plans go. See how much discard Reno our opponent has here. Polluted Delta. Cracks it. Confounding Conundrum, you would have did things. Watery Grave untapped. And Inquisition. Takes the Wall of Omens. Well, we will play an island. We will play Confounding Conundrum. Draw a card. Pass the turn. Well, so our opponent's future fetches, if they have any, are less good. Opponent passing. Well, we will Confounding Conundrum. Number 2, draw a card. Play the clone land, pass the turn. Alright, there's a Thieves Guild Enforcer. Mills, couple cards. No Bitter Blossom yet's good. Swamp for our opponent. Inquisition, that's less good. Takes the Wall of Omens. Boy, Soaring Thought Thief. It's really hard to get fetch lands with Confounding Conundrum. Opponent mills us, turns out they're dorks. Yeah, it's a clock. Down to 16. Oh, what do we even do? Well, alright, land, crack it. Plains, Panharmonicon. Unfortunately, thanks to all the discard, we don't have anything to do with the Panharmonicon at the moment. Island for our opponent gets in, hits us. Mills us. Down to 9. We untap. Ghost Quarter, not super helpful. Well, we will Path to Exile, Thieves Guild Enforcer, attempt to. Ghost Quarter, Watery Grave. We turned it into a strip mine. We turned it into, unless our opponent, all right. We got a strip mine. We did it. We did a Confounding Conundrum thing. Strip mine in Modern. We got to take the small wins with a Confounding Conundrum. Opponent gets it, hits us. Mills cards we wanted. Down to 7. Flooded Strand. Passes. Well, Flooded Strand. Crack it. Grab a Plains. Cast Yamara Wizard. Pass the turn. Opponent gets it, hits us. What is our opponent's hand if they're not doing anything? Mills us. We drop to 4. Oh, Wall of Omens, we wanted that too. Oh, so sad. Down to 4. Watery Grave. Tapped. Opponent passes. Well, play Field of Ruin. Pass the turn. I do not like where we are at. Opponent untaps. Goes to combat. Well, I mean, alright, I guess we can wait one more turn. Mills another Wall of Omens we wanted. Drop to 2. Well, this is our turn where we need to draw something. Opponent passes. Dovin's Veto. Alright, well, pass the turn. Oh, we were set up to do sweet things. We just didn't draw the sweet things. Opponent gets in. Well, we have to Ghostly Flicker. We have to Ghostly Flicker. You and you. Give the wizard flying. Opponent, alright, goes to kill it. While we will Dovin's Veto. Do you have more removal? Okay. So we get milled. But we do get to block this Soaring Thought Thief. So we're not dead yet. Opponent passes. Oh, jeez. Okay. Another Panharmonicon. If they could flash something in, they got us. Oh, the Panhar sadness. We have... they keep milling our ETB stuff. If we could draw a Wall of Omens, or a Glimmer Poisang, or a Flicker Wisp, we could do ridiculous things, but it's not happening. Do they have it? If they have it, we're dead. Thieves Guild Enforcer. Alright, so that doesn't put us directly dead, because we can block that. If our opponent has removal, then we're dead. Archmage's Charm to draw cards. Looking for that removal spell to win. Combat, opponent. Attacks. Well, we will block. Untap. That does not help. Wow, we have such an insane setup. We just can't find anything to go with it. Flash creature. And we scoop it up. Well, we got to see a Zendikar Rising theme deck do things. Sadly, boy, if we could have drawn a single, we weren't gonna draw anything forever. If we could have drawn a single, we have so many payoffs in our deck. Many of them got milled. But if we could have drawn a Flicker Wisp, like Flicker Wisp here, comes down, doubles with Panharmonicon, so we can blink 3 lands. They come in 2 Confounding Conundrums. Opponent would have to bounce essentially all their lands, or we could draw like a Wall of Omens, or even a Thraben Inspector, or a Glimmer Poisang, but wasn't meant to be. Wasn't meant to be. Well, alright, next time. Alright, against the odds time, we are trying to confound our opponents in Modern. Confounding Conundrum. And no conundrums, but we got some Thraben Inspectors, which can draw conundrums, maybe. Thraben Inspector, go. Opponent. Misty. Passes. Well, let's Ghost Quarter. Thraben Inspector. Go to combat. Attack. Pass the turn. Opponent. Gets a Triome. Alright, this is probably a matchup where Conundrum would be good if we get it down. Find it, so to speak. Well, play a Glasspool Mimic. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Play Wall of Omens. Oh, okay, there's a Conundrum. Is it going to be fast enough? Opponent taps. This does look like a deck that's probably ramping. Misty Rainforest. Opponent passes. Well, we will untap. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Play Thraben Inspector. Get a clue. Resolve, please. Conundrum. Don't counter it. Opponent. Opponent. Come on now. All right. Play the wizard. Pass the turn. Oh, this is a matchup where Conundrum would be good. Opponent untaps. Unfortunately, counter spells are also good. I mean, our opponent is down to 13, and if we resolve this Glimmer Point Stag, we can do a cool thing with our MDFC lands. Flooded Grove. And Uro. Yeah, getting down that Confounding Conundrum would have been super helpful. Glasspool Mimic. Well, go to combat. Attack our opponent. For a bit, but also the amount that Earl just gained them, so not that much. Play Glasspool Mimic. Crack the clue. Pass the turn. Opponent, Field of Ruin. Oh, that actually ruins our plan here. Opponent, passing. Maybe. Alright, crack the clue. Draw a card. Wall of Omens. Untap. Go to combat. Attack you. Down to 10. Opponent fatal pushes. Well, we will crack a clue draw card. Flooded Strand. Crack it for a Plains. Glimmer Point Stag. Alright, opponents looks like they're going to counter. Oh, Mystical Sanctuary. Puke. Oh, that Confounding Conundrum would have been so helpful. Opponent gets back Fatal Push. Alright. We would like to loop these Glasspool. Like, we could go off, but this Field of Ruin means we can't. Also, I mean, our opponent can still have counters. Cryptic, counter bounces. Oh, so are we just locked now? We needed our Conundrum. Mystical Sanctuary gets back Cryptic Command. Alright, so this happens for forever now. Not the best spot to be in. Opponent passes. Yeah, so I think we're just going to have to concede in a minute because I don't think we can beat this lock. I guess we can. Opponent's going to blow up our Ghost Quarter. Alright, blows up our Ghost Quarter. Wait, did they draw the Cryptic? Did this shuffle away their Cryptic? Opponent might have messed this up. We'll grab a Plains. Untap. Well, Flicker Wisp. What do you say, opponent? Flicker Glasspool. Play Wall of Omens, draw a card. Hallowed Fountain tapped. Go to combat. Get in. So we get our clone back. It copies Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp, blink a clone. Pass the turn. Alright, opponent, what do you got? Please not a Wrath. Archmage's Charm draws a couple cards. I mean, we are presenting lethal-ish if our opponent can't, like, sweep our board or keep tapping it down. If they can sweep our board, this is very bad for us. What you got, opponent? Gets back Uro? Gets back Uro, goes up to 11. Draws a card. Well, opponent passes. So we get back our clone. We clone a Flicker Wisp. We flicker Wall of Omens. We untap. Conundrum. Ooh, Path. Well, alright, so I think what we do is Path Uro. Go to combat. Attack. See if our opponent actually has an answer. Okay, Fatal pushes a Flicker Wisp to stay alive. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Ghostly Flicker. Copy Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wall of Omens. Hit our opponent. Well, I mean, if our opponent has a sweeper, that can still get us. Play the land. Get back our Wall of Omens. Draw 2 cards. Wizard. And Glimmer Point. All right, opponent. I mean, our deck is doing cool things. These shenanigans are working, but we're still open to our opponent just like, damnation, I win. Jace the Mind Sculptor. So that can dig for damnations and cryptics to keep our opponent alive. And this is without the Confounding Conundrum. If we had this to add to our synergies, it'd be even better. Opponent, Breeding Pool, tapped. So I'm assuming this means our opponent has Cryptic. We'll see. Well, crack Flooded Strand. Grab a Hallowed Fountain, tapped. Untap. Go to combat. Do you have Cryptic? So Jace finds a Cryptic. Bound. Oh my goodness, I hate this synergy. Well, we will play a Crucible of Worlds. Oh, no! Oh, so now we're hard locked. Yeah, so now I think we can actually concede because with the Jace on the battlefield, this is infinite. So every single turn, and we don't have a way to beat it, our opponent gets to Mystic Sanctuary, back Cryptic, draw Cryptic with Jace, tap down our team, draw an extra card. I guess we can draw like a Ghost Quarter eventually, but I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. Like, I don't know if it's worth our sanity of sitting through this for infinite amount of turns until we get Urrowed to death on the hopes that we draw a Ghost Quarter. Island. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. All right, I won't scoop. This lock is just super obnoxious to play against. All right, yeah. Oh, we got off to a sweet start, but there it is. Cryptic picks up Mystic Sanctuary. Opponent untaps, plays Mystic Sanctuary. Gets back Cryptic, brainstorms into Cryptic. And our opponent is still going up cards as I do this, remember? That's important to keep in mind. It's not like they're locked because they're drawing 2 cards each turn. So even though one of those cards is always a Cryptic, they're still getting a fresh card each turn. So it's not like they themselves are locked with this scenario. Well, go to combat. Opponent. Cryptics again. Picks up Mystic Sanctuary. I feel like we've seen this before. It's familiar to me somehow. Cryptic taps, picks it up. Well, yeah, we will play a Wall of Omens. Draw a card. We will play a Panharmonicon. Opponent. Cryptic 2. Alright, so opponent's up to 2 Cryptics a turn. We will pass the turn. I got an idea what our opponent might do this turn. Mystic Sanctuary, gets back Cryptic, brainstorms into Cryptic, taps down our team, draws a card. Alright, we'll give it one more draw, and then we'll give it one more turn, and then I'm just gonna scoop for the sake of our sanity. Is it technically possible that we could beat this? Yes. Is it likely, and will it take 45 minutes for us to go through this? Also yes. So, go to combat. There's our Confounding Conundrum. Smidge on the late side. Opponent. Cryptic. Taps our team, draws a card. Picks up Mystic, or taps our team, draws Mystic Sanctuary, essentially. Well, play Confounding Conundrum. Draw a card. Play Flicker Wisp. Flicker a Confounding Conundrum. Pass the turn. Get back Confounding Conundrum, draw a card. It's a Wall of Omens, pass the turn. We do have 6 Ghost Quarter effects in our deck. So the odds are not that low of us hitting one, but by the time we do, our opponent probably has another Mystic Sanctuary. Brainstorms into the Cryptic. Opponent. Urrows. Draws a card. Well, our deck did do cool things. Those things don't beat Mystic Sanctuary locks, but it did do things. Opponent gets a Field of Ruin, has to pick up a land. I don't think they especially care. Actually, our Confounding Conundrum might be helping our opponent. So we let our opponent pick up their Mystic Sanctuary. That's awkward. Opponent passes. Well, we will go to combat. Opponent Cryptics. Number million. Cryptic taps, draws. Well, we will play another Confounding Conundrum. Draw a card. Wall of Omens. Draw a card. And Ghostly Flicker. Our Flicker Wisps. Opponent has a remand. Alright, well, pass the turn. Where's all of our Ghost Quarters? Oh, where are they? Hey! Mystic Sanctuary, welcome back. Gets a Cryptic to tap our team and draw a card after brainstorming with Jace. Oh my god, my sanity. My sanity is fraying. It is literally fraying. We have multiple Confounding Conundrums, but they're not actually really helping us at the moment. Opponent. Going to replay Urro. Is there any way out of this lock? Urro draws a card. Goes up to 12. We will path Urro. Attempt to. I assume our opponent's got to let it go because I got a Cryptic. Urro down. Untap. Discards to hand size. Glasspool Mimic. Well, we go to combat. This might be a turn where we can make our opponent bounce some lands. Opponent. Oh, Cryptic pick. Okay. Okay, this is our chance. This is our chance. How far can we go? So, we will Glasspool Mimic. Copy Flicker Wisp. Flicker a land. We will Ghostly Flicker. Flicker Wisps. Flicker a land. Flicker a land. All right, opponent. All right, opponent. You will feel the wrath of the Confounding Conundrum. Land comes into play. Number 1. Land comes into play. Number 2. Opponent needs to bounce 2 lands. Maybe our Confounding Conundrum is going to get us out from under this lock by pinching our opponent's mana. Opponent casts a Go for the Throw on a Flicker Wisp. Well, it has to bounce 2 lands. Another land comes into play. Opponent's got to bounce 2 more lands. This is going to make it a lot harder for our opponent to keep looping, because they're not going to have the mana to loop and also keep doing other things. So they can keep doing this and crypticking, but they're running out of the ability to do other things along the way. And this buys us more time to find a Ghost Quarter. Wow, what a crazy game. Well, we got to do things with Confounding Conundrum. We put our opponent down a bunch of lands. Is it enough to matter? Opponent's going to have to discard many of them to hand size, which I guess kind of helps grow Uro. Opponent. What a weird, long, grindy game. I think our opponent's other concern is they're down to 11 minutes, and this is game 1. On turn 14 of the grindiest Conundrum game in the history of Magic with this Cryptic Lock. What do we draw? Oh, go to combat. Wow. Attack, 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 attack. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to attack everything at our opponent. Oh, if we had the Panharmonicon, that would have been even better. Still a good turn, though. 4 lands down from a Ghostly Flicker. It worked! It worked! And that was a Confounding Conundrum win. The Confounding Conundrum Blink Plan, that's what won us that game. That officially won us the game by allowing us to pinch our opponents for mana enough. Okay. Wow. Well, it wasn't free and easy, and our opponent, super duper ultra annoying with that Cryptic Lock, but in the end, we confounded him. We did. Okay. I'm just happy that it did a thing. Our opponent might have conceded a little bit because of time, but all right, we will bring in 2 vetoes, 2 mystical disputes, 4 Wheel of Sun and Moons, if we can find room. The question is, what do we go down? Like, how do we make room for this? We can go down a couple Thraben Inspectors. We can go down maybe a Path to Exile. We can go down a Wizard, a Panharmonicon, a Wizard, a Glimmer Point, and a Glimmer Point. All right, run it like that. Run it like that. Can we do it again? This time it would be sweet to just slam a Confounding Conundrum on turn 2. Meddling Mage could also be good, but I think it just dies. This hand. Is it good enough? I mean, I guess we keep it. It's not exciting, but we'll keep it. We do have Glasspool Mimic, copy Flicker Wisp, which is kind of cool. Opponent, Flooded Grove, and passes. All right, more Ghostly Flickers. Seachrome Coast, go. Opponent, Forest, and passing. Now, Glasspool Mimic, go. Mystical Dispute's good. Opponent, Field of Ruin, and Uro. I don't think we bother to counter Uro here. Yeah, Uro resolves. Draws a card, gains some life. Field of the Dead. Well, we do have answers for that if we find them. Opponent passes. Well, play the land. Flicker Wisp. Flicker Glasspool Mimic. End of turn. Get back Glasspool, copy Flicker Wisp. Flicker the blue mana. Alright, go Flicker Wisps. Get that job done. Oh, if we find a Confounding Conundrum, things become even better. Opponent, Polluted Delta. And passing. Well, they get back their land. Yeah. They are getting close to zombie mode. We're going to need a Field of Ruin or something at some point here. Untap. Well, play the land. Go to combat. Attack. Alright, so going to blow up our blue source. We'll float mana. Grab a island. Opponent. Alright. Go for the throat. Okay. Well, opponent takes 3. Cracks Polluted Delta. Gets a Triome. Almost to Uro. Almost to Field of the Dead. We needed our Conundrum. Conundrum would have been helpful. Opponent. Well, alright. We will Mystical Dispute Jace. Untap. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Flicker Wisp. flicker the Flicker Wisp. Get back the Glasspool Mimic Flicker Wisp. Copy Flicker Wisp. Flicker the Flooded Grove. Pass the turn. Might keep our opponent off Uro mana for a turn. Flooded Strand for our opponent. And, wow, Explosives X3, okay. That's awkward. Opponent cracks it. So are they just blowing up our board right now? Breeding Pool, untapped. Alright, blows up our Flicker Wisps. Not great for us. Opponent gets back their land. Well, play Thraben Inspector. Crack the Clue. See if we can hit a land. No. Wheel of Sun and Moon would be sweet, but it's a bit late. Alright, here comes the zombies. We did not... This was a very weird draw. We got a nice little tempo play, but... Field of the Dead, Uro, no Confounding Conundrum, and the Flicker with the Ghostly Flickers, they're good in the late game as a combo piece, but they're not especially helpful when you're stuck on 3 lands and have Thraben Inspectors and Flicker Wisps. So here comes Uro. And this one might have slipped away now. Uro, life, no land. Opponent passes. Come on, Ghost Quarter. Panharmonicon. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. It's getting worse and worse. Well, Pathero. Yes, mana situation's bad news. Opponent gets a zombie. Well, pass the turn. No attacks. This is the most awkward hand we've ever had. It does nothing. We have so many cards, but they do so much nothing. Opponent gets and hits us. Down to 16. More chases. More brainstorms. Opponent, more Uros. Fetch land for more zombies. Yeah. And now we can officially scoop it up. Ugh. Alright, so this game, we want a turn 2 Conundrum. We want turn 2 Conundrum. That is what we need. Preferably multiple Conundrums. Well, run it back. Run it back! Hopefully don't have that hand again. Also, turn 2 Wheel of Sun and Moon would be acceptable. We would take that. That would at least slow our opponent down a bit. Alright, we're on the play. Show us that Conundrum. That is a mulligan. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, oh, dear. No Conundrum. Well, alright. I mean, I guess we keep it. We'll put a Plains to the bottom. This is not the hand we were hoping for, but play the Wizard past the turn. Misty Rainforest, Podet, passing. Conundrum. Plains. So I'll play the Plains and Wall of Omens. Draw a card. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Misty. Gets a Triume. Misty Rainforest and passes. Well, play a Hallowed Fountain. Untapped. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks. Breeding Pool. Tapped. Snow-Covered Island. And Uro. Well, alright. 1, 2, 3. Flicker you, flicker you. Get a Wizard. Draw a card. It's a Flicker Wisp. Opponent gonna gain some life, draw some cards, etc., etc., etc. And passes. I'll play the land, go to combat, hit our opponent. Glasspool Mimic. Copy. Pass. Alright, come on, Wizards. Come on, Wizards. Save us. Save us from Uropile. Opponent, suck it hollow. Passes. Well, play the land. Go to combat. Attack you. Opponent. Takes it to 9. Okay. Untaps. Flooded Strand. Opponent. Passing. Well, we will untap. Go to combat. Attack you. Is it Cryptic time? Alright. Mystically dispute the Cryptic. Go to combat. Hit you to 1. Wheel of Sun and Moon. Targeting you. Opponent has a Spell Snare. Okay. Opponent. Did it work? Did it work? Field of Ruin. Blows up our Field of Ruin. We'll grab an island. Is this to get Uro back? I don't think getting Uro back beats us. Opponent. Because we can just Ghostly Flicker to give these flying. Fly over Uro for the win. Opponent. What do they get? Watery Grave. Tapped. Alright. Alright. I think it's going to work. Opponent passes. That looks like 2 lethal threats to me. Well, we will play Glasspool Mimic. We will Ghostly Flicker. Fly him up. And kill ya? And kill ya? Oh my goodness, it worked! Force of Negation, that doesn't matter though. That doesn't matter, because we gain flying. All we gotta do is cast it. Uro does not fly. That is 2 lethal threats. I don't think there's a card that saves our opponent here. Well, I guess Fog. But hopefully they're not playing Fog. And opponent scoops it up. It worked. It worked. Okay. Wow. That was the longest and grindiest match imaginable. But the plan kind of came to fruition. We got the bouncing to win in game 1 after the Cryptic lock. And in that game, we got the flicker win. We got the flip up the wizards, aggro, kill you quickly. All right, sweet, sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. So what do we learn this week about Confounding Conundrum, Confoundamonicon for Modern? And overall, we went 1-3. And if you would see my testing, this was like the 5th build of the deck I built. And I played so many matches with various builds of it. And this was the best of the bunch. So the 1-4 we got with this deck, or 1-3 we got with this deck, rather, was actually the best I could do with a deck built around Confounding Conundrum, which is a good sign that it's a pretty janky card to build around. So we did get a sweet kill. We came close in other games. We did bounce a few lands with Confounding Conundrum. But the big takeaway, there's 2 big takeaways, I think. Big takeaway number 1 is Confounding Conundrum is much less effective than I thought it was going to be. So Confounding Conundrum, here's what I thought was going to happen. I thought, okay, we play Confounding Conundrum. We kind of hose fetch land decks, which everyone's a fetch land deck. So we're going to get a lot of just natural value. And then eventually, we're going to get this really sweet combo kill where we blink all of our opponent's stuff, make them bounce all their lands. The problem is, why we did get the sweet make you bounce your stuff plays on occasion, the problem is Confounding Conundrum wasn't actually that good as a natural card. Like, it mostly did absolutely nothing unless we were able to set up our, like, 3-piece really janky Panharmonicon combo. We got a couple of times where we, like, got a strip mine. Maybe our opponent didn't search with a Path to Exile, but we didn't get much natural value out of fetch land decks. Like, our opponent was able to play their fetches and then just wait and crack them during our turn. So the Field of Ruin Ghost Quarter plans didn't really work out that well. So it was actually super duper ultra hard to get much value out of Confounding Conundrum without setting up the full combo. So I feel like rather than being a main deck hoser for Modern, I feel like Confounding Conundrum at best is a sideboard card that you bring in against like Uro decks or other ramp decks. And even there, we did beat the Uro pile deck. That was our one win. But even in that match, I'm not sure Confounding Conundrum was really helpful because our opponent was able to use our Confounding Conundrum to pick up their Mystic Sanctuaries and keep their loops going. So we were actually, like, while hurting our opponent sometimes, we were actually helping our opponent at other times. So Confounding Conundrum, all that to say, it was very, very hard to build around. Like, this was my best attempt, the most successful attempt, probably the spiciest attempt too, and this still was not very close to being, like, very competitive. I think the synergies are cool with Flicker Wisp and the Armageddons and the Glimmer Point saves. Like, I like the synergies of the deck, but they just don't feel all that competitive. They're a little clunky, not that consistent. The other thing I will say is I am coming around to the possibility of blinking MDFCs in Modern and in other formats. We actually saw another person playing like a Merfolk deck that was using a similar synergy, but I think that actually offers some power. I think, was Confounding Conundrum improving our deck? I don't know. Like, as far as trying to win matches, outside of against odds, it's probably a sideboard card at best. But the plan of, like, playing Glasspool Mimics and Umara Wizards, and then Flicker Wisp, flip up a Glasspool, which copies Flicker Wisp, which gets back a Wizard, and all of a sudden on, like, turn 3 or turn 4, you just got a bunch of big flying creatures that can kill your opponent. That's a really neat synergy that probably deserves to be explored more in the format. So even though Confounding Conundrum was admittedly rough, we did do some cool things with it eventually. We got to see some other cool Zendikar Rising decks. We had some sweet Zendikar Rising synergies. So even though Confounding Conundrum itself, not going to break Modern, the odds are not very high, it can do cool things when everything comes together. I think the big problem is, so when you think about how our deck does cool things, we need to have at least one, preferably 2 or more Confounding Conundrums. We need to resolve a Panharmonicon, and then we need to resolve a Flicker Wisp or a Glimmer Point Stag. That is asking for a lot in Modern. That's like 3 pieces, going up to 4 mana, doing nothing. So at best case, we're looking at like turn 5, and even then, a lot of decks are just kill you quicker than that, or have counter spells, or can some way disrupt your plan. So it's asking a lot to really go off with it. I was just shocked at how hard it was to get the Conundrum value, but the idea of the deck is sweet. It did do some cool things, and the blinking MDFC synergy, I think, is really spicy and worth being explored more. So anyway, That's Confounding Conundrum, Confoundamonicon for Modern. That was our Against the Odds for this week. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed our attempt to make our opponent bounce lands with Confounding Conundrum. And yeah, I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.